Hello everyone again and welcome to the DMSI YouTube channel, and it's truly a pleasure to actually have you all in this particular space. And in this particular video we're going to be building on what we talked about on our previous video, where we looked at reactions that involves specific types of cyclo compounds that are actually heteroatoms related. Like in this particular case, we're focusing on nitrogens, and on our previous video we looked at various types of nitrogens in here, like for example being able to create a specific compound which is actually called trimethylcyclizine from using a specific form of morpholine, which is a specific saturated heteroatom. And on our next video, which is what we're doing today on this video, we're going to be looking at how to play around with this particular pepper-azining in creating a specific cyclizine, and this particular making of this compound will be crucial in this video with the help of another reactant, which is a form of a diphenyl chloride, and this is what is actually involved here. This here is going to be reacting. Take note that it has chloride in there, and this is going to, remember, undergo a form of equilibrium where, due to chlorine, which is noticed here to be a good leaving group, it goes in and goes back, and that back and forth at equilibrium at saturated point actually leads to some interesting reaction which we talked about on our previous videos. And these previous videos highlights one interesting formation at a transition state where we have a positive charge present in that carbon. Usually it's called a carbocation, and the creation of this carbocation allows access for our specific N-methyl pepper-xanine, and this particular form of pepper-xanine has nitrogen on both ends, but the difference here is that one is bonded with hydrogen and while the other one is bonded with a methyl group. So based on these two, I know they are both positioned in the opposite direction, so that should give you a hint on which nitrogen is involved in this particular type of reaction. And the nitrogen here is indeed the one that is attached to the hydrogen. Reason is because of sterics mainly, and also the contribution of electrons in and out at that particular bond, reflecting on the lone pairs. And what we notice is that this nitrogen here is known to be a better nucleophile than the nitrogen at the bottom over here. Therefore, what that results in is the formation of a bond with this carbocation, and this results in the formation of a specific intermediate product where our phenyls are going to be bonding with the carbon, and the carbon here is bonded with the nitrogen. Take note that it is bonded with hydrogens, and we have the other methyl group that is bonded to the nitrogen. Now take note here that this nitrogen has a positive charge, and this positive charge is going to be susceptible to a specific base that is going to be introduced in low amount. In this case, we're going to be using a hydroxide, and this hydroxide is going to be involved in this particular deprotonation that picks up this hydrogen, which is the most acidic hydrogen in this particular compound here, and then this bond forms a lone pair with the nitrogen, thereby bringing the former charge from positive to neutral. Therefore, as a result of that, we are going to be able to form our specific product. Take note that in this case we're going to have the loss of water, and therefore we are going to have our phenyls that are bonded to this carbon. And take note that we have our nitrogen with the lone pairs and the two bonds, and take note that we have the nitrogen bonded to the methyl, and in here we have our specific product. And this product of focus is actually the cyclizine, and the cyclizine is really crucial in terms of what we know in treatments and preventing of nausea, vomiting, and dizziness. So it's really interesting to see how this particular drug is used in the pharmaceutical sector to prevent all these forms of symptoms, either coming from a particular illness or disease that may actually show those symptoms in there. Take note here that in this reaction here, we have a specific key reaction that we notice, and this key reaction is noticed here, and this reaction is called an SN1 reaction. So this is a key note and key takeaway message in terms of making a cyclizine product. Now, the next case here is case 3, and in case 3, we'll be making an enamine, and enamine is going to be created due to the use of pyrrolidine. And so we're going to use pyrrolidine in this reaction, and we are going to focus on another type of reactant that will be crucial for this particular formation of our specific product. So in this case here, we're going to start off with another reactant, and this reactant can be an aldehyde or a ketone, but I'm just going to pick an aldehyde in this case right here. And what happens is when the aldehyde is introduced, and we have a pyrrolidine that is going to be introduced as well. In this case, we have a nitrogen with the hydrogens, and then we have a 5-membered ring created. Take note here that our nitrogen will first, because it is a good nucleophile, will donate its lone pair to form a bonding pair, and therefore this pi bond forms a lone pair with the oxygen. Therefore, this won't lead to the removal of this hydrogen, because this hydrogen is a bad leaving group. So this will continue to repeat itself. However, the prominent product here will be a specific anion that is located on the specific oxygen as shown right here. And so once this is created, take note that we have our lone pairs, we have a hydrogen, and we have our nitrogen bonded to a positively charged. Here, the nitrogen is positively charged, and then we have our specific bond that is cyclic. So take note here that in this case, we would then need to introduce water, because water is one of the solvents that will be present here. And once water is introduced, it will cause the specific anion on the oxygen to deprotonate our water. Therefore, this results in the specific picking up of our hydrogen, and therefore forming a specific hydroxyl product. And so therefore, where on one side we have a hydroxyl that is released here, we have our specific target intermediate product, which is short-lived, and this will have our oxygen with the hydrogen, which is now neutral, and on the other side we have our nitrogen with the positive charge. Take note, we have the hydrogen, and we have our 5-membered ring in there. So take note here that since we have our hydroxyl that is still present, this is known to be a really good base. Therefore, it picks up our specific proton here, thereby deprotonating our specific nitrogen to then form a lone pair. Therefore, this results here in the specific picking up of a hydrogen. This bond forms a lone pair with the nitrogen, and therefore we are reforming our water. So therefore, as a result, on one side we have our water that is released, and we have our intermediate product, which has our specific oxygen with the hydrogen. And take note that we have our neutral form of our product. Take note here that this particular neutral product you might think is actually stable, but not really, because this particular hydroxyl has a specific sensitivity to water. Therefore, the water that is present will actually donate high protons to this particular oxygen, and therefore what happens is that this oxygen comes in, picks up hydrogen in here, and what that leads to is the formation of our intermediate product. And so these are intermediate products. We have hydrogen, two hydrogens with the oxygen, and we have a positive charge, making that to be a good living group, and therefore we have our specific nitrogen with our cyclic form present right there. So as a result of this, what happens is that since this is such a good living group, which is the OH2 positive, this will lead to the loss of water, which is a production of water. And as a result of that, how this is accomplished is by this lone pair forming a particular or creating a pi bond, thereby causing this particular bond to cleave and releases our water. Therefore, this results in the loss of water, which is H2O, and we have our specific side product, which is this particular form right here. Now, take note that this particular side product is short-lived, because in this case here, it has a positive charge on the nitrogen. And take note that in this particular structure that is formed right here, we notice that there is a hydrogen that is right here. This hydrogen is considered to be really acidic with around a specific low pKa value. So therefore, as a result of that, what we have is our hydrogen, which is present right here, will be noticed with water, and water is way more basic than that particular proton, which is right here. Thereby the water will pick up this proton. Therefore, this results in the loss of our hydrogen, and thereby causing this bond to form a pi bond, and this results here in the transformation of our pi bond to a lone pair on the nitrogen, and this results here in the specific forming of our hydronium ion and our main product, which is considered to be our specific enamine. And so as a result of that, we'll be able to create two products that are of our desired form from our specific nitrogen, which is a heterocyclic when it is used from combining one aldehyde or ketone from, in this case, a pyrroline, or on this other side here where we have our specific form of chloride that is going to be performing an SN1 type reaction in the presence of this particular N-methyl pyroxanine. And so this is those things that we actually are able to touch on in terms of the different types of reactions that are specific and heteroatoms or heterocyclic compounds are able to perform, not only in nature but also at the industrial scale, to create drugs and also to create some interesting products that will be used down the road. Thanks for following me through this. I truly appreciate it. Please hit the comment down below. Let me hear your thoughts about this, but that way I can talk to you soon. Stay smart as always and believe yourselves.